The Jacodu Children's Project was launched in September 2010 and currently supports 53 children from a poor Roma community. The aims of the project are to educate the children and give them a brighter and more productive future, with a long-term goal of ending the cycles of poverty in future generations.
At the moment, when I'm driving to Jacodu, it feels quite exciting because the project is being really productive and we've launched the agriculture project. So you know that when you arrive, there's lots of productivity there, and when I compare it to before, there was just sadness and hopelessness. I remember going down to Jacodu in the early days and feeling just despair. The houses and the dirty children and the squalor and the lack of basic rights. It just felt so wrong and desperate. I didn't understand it. I could never get my head around how people could live that way, how they could let their children live that way, with no clothes and being filthy dirty and not wanting their children to go to school, not encouraging them to go to school. That's in the early days. I just didn't understand it at all. That's what it made me feel, confused. But it was only when I began to get to know the people and began to talk to them more. And then I realised that it was a completely different way of life. They had no choice. That lifestyle is an inheritance. If you haven't been to school yourself, you don't know and you don't understand why you should go to school. We got to know the families and the children. And then suddenly it was like, this is not correct that these children are living like this. And we're in a position to do something about it. And so Love Light Romania needs to put a project together with a long-term vision, because it just is not morally correct when you know that children are living in that way, that you don't do anything about it if you're in a position to.
After the project was launched, Love Light Romania's initial focus was to improve the lives of the children, providing the families with basic human rights, such as toilets and electricity. They'd also help rebuild their homes, allowing the children to live in warm and dry environments.
Initially, looking at how the children were, which was filthy dirty, with hardly any clothes and footwear, they were barefoot for most of the time. That was obviously an issue that we needed to attend to. It was really important that they had decent clothes that fitted them. So we went to the trouble of specifically making up individual clothes and footwear parcels for each one of the children.
With a long-term goal being focused towards education, the Foundation identified the children's first need was to experience life outside their feral community. Through excursions and activities away from Jacodu, it allowed the children to experience a new society, build their confidence and increase their social interaction skills.
They didn't know any life outside of their Roma community. So it was really important that they had our help to show them another life. We couldn't expect them really to take part in our learning programs that we wanted to set up for them, teaching them all sorts of skills, if we hadn't built up first their self-confidence and they knew how to act in a different environment outside of that feral community.
At a time like this, clap, clap.
Having reached the stage where further programmes needed to be introduced, Love Light Romania decided to establish a support centre. This would allow further activities and the project to expand beyond its initial stages.
All the activities and the programmes that have taken place at Jacodu have been put into place to help the children progress on to another stage. I mean, they couldn't take part in the zoo trips if they weren't clean and they didn't have adequate clothing and footwear. They couldn't take part in the education programme if they hadn't been a little bit socialised and if they hadn't got self-confidence from stepping out a little bit into another world. And the same with the camps. I mean, it's all been a natural stepping stone, one moving on to another.
Over the next 6 months, various new programmes and projects were created with the purpose of teaching new skills and introducing the children to more activities, with the continued long-term goal towards education.
The children really love coming up to the house. It's like their second home. And considering it's a house which is completely different to their home, I'm amazed at how much respect they have for it. I like to think that it's like a bit like a therapy centre for them, because they come through the gate and they come in the door and you can see that Roma community just fall in. It's like they're taking a coat off.
With a newfound confidence and belief in themselves, the children were now showing their true potential, which for so long had been locked away. They were excited about what they'd achieved and were proud of their own personal accomplishments. This was clear to see when they participated in their own production of the Christmas story.
When they were acting out the Christmas story, they really enjoyed it and they really got into it. It was quite an amazing little project and they became very confident. And at the end of it, when they had a copy of the film, they were really, really proud to show their parents. And their parents were proud of what their children had achieved.
Despite the support to attend school, the Roma children still faced challenges with their education. Alongside their illiteracy, discrimination and being taught in Hungarian, which they were unable to understand, many problems remained for them in a classroom environment. Unable to participate, they'd be told to sit on a bench at the back of the class or be sent home. A solution to this problem was the creation of the education programme. In collaboration with the director of the school, it would provide intensive support to the children and focus on improving their basic skills of reading, writing and maths. With an increased knowledge of these skills, it would allow the children for the first time to participate in a school environment where they were actually able to learn.
The education programme now is in its second year and the children have made an amazing amount of progress. When we first started in the beginning, it wasn't just that they didn't have capabilities to count, write their name. They didn't have the self-confidence They didn't believe that they could achieve to learn, not even the basics. But now in this second year, we're seeing them a lot more confident. We hear them comparing themselves to other children in Jacodu, non-Roma, which before they didn't do. Before they were just the Roma children who lived in this dirty, squalid little community. But now our Roma children on the education programme are putting themselves at the same level as the other children in that village.
All the children from Roma community are all the same. If somebody works with them, they give back results, good results. But if nobody cares about them, that's it. You cannot expect for these children to become something or to learn something if nobody helps them.
When I look back to when I first knew Johnny, he was not very confident at all, and he had no idea how to act socially outside of that Roma community. That wild, frightened little boy that he was, to now he'll sit down and be confident to write. And his enthusiasm for the education programme is quite amazing. He really enjoys it, and he gets on well with Doreen and with Dana.
He likes his future. He doesn't have illusions. I would go abroad or do that and that. No, he likes his future like this future that is coming along.
I think Tarzan felt very proud when he saw that piece of film of Johnny reading. And his words eventually were, "I never thought I would see my boy read." That's quite special, really. It makes it all worthwhile, all the effort, all the work, all the resources, to see Johnny achieving what he has on the education programme and seeing his dad recognise it. It means a lot to Johnny that Ron and Robert have got time for him, and it means a lot to Johnny that he's treated as an equal.
He never used to think about things and just rush into them, but now he's taken a real interest in doing work with us. I noticed the other day when he was doing that cross with Ron, he was really getting into it and concentrating hard, and he really wanted to make something good, which was nice because it means that he values what he can do and he wants to do something.
Mai bine că știu să citesc un pic, Giu. Mintea mea mi-a deschis un pic. Așa, cu total. Și dacă eu la dumneavoastră la lucru, foarte fain, Giu. Că m-am învățat la școală și știu cum să mă port cu oamenii, cu respect, Giu, și nu mă ciufulesc. Și aia toate. Mai bine, Giu, că am învățat un pic în capul meu. Știi? M-am învățat un pic. Dar altfel, mă duceam așa și mă întreabă că câți ani am și nu știam, Giu, serios. Dar acum, mai bine.
The skills we hope to teach them, building skills, making things, repairing things, it all makes your life better, makes your life, I think, more fulfilled. They're forever told at school when they try to attend school that they're nothing, and yet they have the same abilities as everybody else in the world. And giving them the chance to use those abilities and to teach them trades, etc., just can't help but boost their self-esteem, I think.
If we look at the difference, if Johnny didn't have the project to rely on and to help him move forward, he'd remain like other boys in a Roma community. Because they're damaged from lack of social skills, lack of education, as they grow up, as years go on, they become less and less able to function outside of the Roma community. As they grow up, they don't become less feral, they become more feral, and then they pass that on to their own children.
Without programmes like the Jacodu Children's Project, Many children in Romania today are unable to escape the poverty they've been born into. Instead, they're condemned to live a miserable existence, hidden away from modern society, misunderstood and treated with disdain. Their potential remains locked away, and ultimately their lives become the mirror image of the struggle their parents had to endure.
Mă descurc foarte bine cu proiectul acela unde lucru eu și copiii mei sunt fericiți și eu sunt mulțumit foarte mult că copiii mei învață mai bine ca mine, că eu n-am școală, n-am studii. Părinții mei au fost necăjiți, amândoi, au murit și așa am rămas prăpădit și eu după ei. Că ce conduce mi-au dat părinții, aia am făcut și eu.
When I'm down at Albesh looking at those children, I feel utter despair at the hopelessness of their lives. And I look at how Jacodu was and how those children were the same and what they are now. I personally think it's a crime that children are left forgotten to live in all that squalor with no hope. It's a lifestyle they've inherited. It's not their fault and they've got nothing. And their children are going to inherit the same. I really believe that Love Light Romania could make a difference to the children in Albești. With funding, it would be possible to include those children from Albești in those programmes that are set up at Jacodu.
With a long-term vision of the project to break cycles of poverty, Love Light Romania launched an agriculture project. This will provide employment for the teenagers on leaving school and is focused on the project becoming self-sustainable.
The reason we launched the agricultural project is because it is the way that we can provide long-term employment for the teenagers when they leave school. We've got a lot of local resources that we can use, and the idea is that we're going to farm the land using traditional methods. So it means it's a very economic way that we can begin to provide employment for these teenagers. The other reason that the agricultural project is really important is because eventually it will provide these teenagers with housing that goes with the job as well. Everything's there right next to where they live for them to have a different life. And all Love Light Romania are doing really is making that happen and managing it. The children could never go back to that old way of life. The project has given them a new life, and it would be wrong to take that away from them. I mean, when you look at them now, so different to how they were before. The children that are being born on the project are different to the children that were being born before. And there's been a massive transformation into a better life, a brighter life. And you can't put children back into the darkness and the squalor where they were before. For this generation, you've got to look after this generation for them to be able to look after the next one.
When Love Light Romania looks into the eyes of children born into poverty, it doesn't turn away. It looks beyond the dirt and squalor which surrounds them, and instead focuses on the potential which exists within them. Given opportunities, encouragement, and a long-term commitment, the children who are forced to live within the dirt will one day rise above their dark, desperate lives and into a brighter one, filled with happiness and hope.
When I hear that robin sing, well, I know it's coming on spring. Ooh-wee. And we're starting a new life. I've been shoveling the snow away, working hard for my pay. All I gotta say is we're starting a new life. We gonna move way on down the line. Girl, we'll be standing one place too long a time. When I hear that robin song, well, I know it won't be long. Find out where we belong. Yeah, we're starting a new life. We gonna move way on down the line. Girl, we've been standing in one place for too long a time. And when I hear that robin song, well, I know it won't be long. Find out where we belong. And we're starting a new life. And we're starting a new life. And we're starting a new life. Yeah, we're starting a new life.